Welcome to the Short Rod Show. You're talking with Ben.
And you got Brett.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We are on episode 5 of season 2. Man, we're just rehearsing that, and I biffed it already.
Burning and turning.
We are cranking out episodes left and right here for you guys. Like we mentioned before on our podcast, we're cranking them out every Sunday. They'll be out Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. But thanks, everyone, for joining us again. And what are we talking about today, Brett?
Today, so we're going to stick with the gear theme, slowly start working our way up the rod a little bit, touch on ice line, and then also pairing your rods with the line or pairing the line with the rod that you have. There's definitely different types of line. There's different actions and types of rods, and how do you know what to do, when to do it, and why.
So when you think about different things that are important, line gets overlooked a lot.
Yeah.
When it comes to ice fishing.
And it's probably one of the more important aspects.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what's tying you to your fish.
Yep. If I was going to put it on a list, I would go lure, line, rod action. I wouldn't even put reels on the list, I don't think, but then reel.
Yep. Yeah. On down the line, so so to speak.
Yep.
So excellent. Well, that's a good topic. I know we've been wanting to discuss line for a while and just trying to figure out how to approach it.
Yep.
It's pretty intimidating.
Yeah, again, when we're back at Fleet Farm and you're looking at the big wall of different types of line, how do you know what to get, where to go, why to get it, that sort of stuff.
Yep. Absolutely. I know we were talking about it a little bit when you first got here, but the old Vexilar guys are at it again, talking lithium batteries.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they got some sort of special customized lithium battery that they run that. I mean, somehow is different than every other battery.
Yeah, but right off the bat, he said they're basically all about the same, except theirs is different because it can use a lead acid charger, the standard charger.
Yeah. So what you're telling me here, his name's Gary Zadanko? No, what's that guy's name?
Tom.
Yep. So what you're telling me here, Tom, is you spent time. So I'm supposed to buy a $50 product, $50 to $100 product that has been built for a $10 charger. I can give a shit less about this charger guy, but he's pumped up about the charger.
Oh yeah, yep. So yeah, if you guys get a chance on YouTube, go check out Vexilar's channel. And they were going way into the weeds on how to hook it up, how to charge it, how to use it. You know, the differences on it, and just it was very interesting to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some good info in there, but also there's the production is hilarious.
But it's really interesting this year. I mean, lithium is all over the place. Yeah, everybody has
and the prices are coming down so fast. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Some of those Black Friday sales are coming out, and it's really good deals. So if you guys are thinking about making the switch over to lithium, it makes a huge weight difference.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, when you're lugging all your stuff in a backpack out on the ice, having something with a lithium battery versus a lead acid will save you a lot of weight.
Yeah, for me, the thought that I'm going through right now, it's not, whether I should get lithium, it's what's the best battery route to go, whether I want to go with the tool batteries, my drill battery, or whether I want to buy a designated actual lithium battery.
Yeah.
That's kind of where, because those designated regular lithium batteries are quite a bit cheaper than the drill batteries, but those drill batteries have a lot more uses than just the...
Yep. And we were talking a little bit, too, earlier on how cold weather affects lithium batteries. And so you have your lithium iron phosphate batteries, like Dakota Lithium and Amped Outdoors, the Markham, the Vexilar batteries. And then you have your lithium ion batteries, which would be like in your augers, in your drills,
your DeWalt,
your cell phone, all that
Bosch.
Stuff. And I'm wondering what that means for extreme cold temps. Because we do run into that a little bit with the DeWalt batteries, where you get well below zero and it cold soaks for a while.
Yep.
Maybe outside your shelter on your drill or whatever.
And they're shot.
And they're shot.
Yeah.
Yep. You get a lot less output out of them. But then again, you warm them up a little bit and they work fine.
So another thing I wondered with that too, is that the computer management system that's in there, or is it the actual batteries where those ions are slowing down?
True.
Or is it the management system that's telling it, hey, we're cold, maybe we need to start slowing down here a little bit? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I know lithium batteries, you're not supposed to charge below zero.
Yeah.
It's like the disrupts a chemical reaction in them. So, yeah, that's just something interesting talking battery technology. But I know Well, we saw today Shields will have their Black Friday sale on the lithium shuttle for Markham, $150.
Yeah, that's a deal.
That is a good deal.
Yeah.
You're talking about something that's 12 amp hours and plug your stuff in.
Is it 12 amp hour? I didn't know what size those were.
Free power cable and a free
light.
like little swivel light.
Yeah, that little light's kind of handy.
Yeah, a little gooseneck kind of charge up your jig light. So,
but then they've also got $50 off the Markham lithium batteries.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. So the 10 amp hour would be $50.
That's a pretty good deal. When normally 100.
Yep.
So yeah, when I say the price on these things are coming down like crazy, that's huge because I want to say last year, probably the year before, a 10 amp hour battery would have been like $150, $200.
Yep. See, what gets me, I don't know how proven they are from these other brands. Are they just all buying them from the same company and slapping a different sticker on?
I don't know.
You talk about like the Dakota Lithium, right? They've been making them forever.
Yep.
They're very well known. They're a little more spendy, but...
Yeah, I'm curious if they're just starting to get undercut or if they're actually better. I guess my knowledge of normal batteries, so like your car batteries and stuff, those are all just basically, they just get different stickers slapped on them. They're all, they're just so harsh to the environment. It's only one company that makes them, and then they just slap the different stickers on them. So I don't know. To me, I don't know for sure, but I feel like that's probably the case for your lithium also.
Yep.
Because,
do you remember the group buys on Facebook?
Yeah.
A couple years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone would
In-Depth
just go
Outdoors
in.
had them also.
Dakota Lithium would have, 100 battery discount, save $5 extra off an order of 100.
Yep.
You get 100 people coming together just ready to crank them out.
Buy a bunch of them.
Buy them all up.
You don't really need that anymore.
Divvy it all up with Venmo or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Cool. Well, a little off topic on the battery subject, but
if you guys have new coming on.
Yeah, if you guys have thoughts on it, post up on Facebook, send us a few messages about it. Really like the comments on our Facebook page and get some other people involved in it.
Yeah.
Questions through email are great, but then again, it's just we get to answer them, and that's about it. No one else sees them. So, yeah, stay interactive. That's what we're trying to push for this season, to get in touch with our fans since we're spread around all over the country. So, keep it coming. Keep the comments rolling. We appreciate that. So, yeah, we'll talk some line coming up next on
The Short Rod Show. Hey, Ben, so I've got this buddy that's trying to start a small business, but he's having a real tough time with his digital footprint and just trying to figure all that out. Do you know anybody that could help him out?
Well, I think I do. I know a couple cool guys at this company called Evergrow Marketing, and they really specialize in helping landscape and lawn care companies maximize their digital footprint and basically bring customers to them, help them get found on the internet.
Really?
I mean, they'll work with any business. They're really looking to expand. And if you tell them that Ben and Brett sent you from the Short Rod Show, you can get 10% off your first order. Really cool.
If you're interested in the Evergrow Marketing team and what they have to offer, check them out on evergrowmarketing.com and tell them Ben and Brett from the Short Rod Show sent you.
Brett, I was poking around on Facebook the other day, and I could just not find the Short Rod Show. What's the deal?
Oh, you just got to punch us in on Google.
What do you mean? We show up on Google already?
Oh, yeah. The Evergrow team hooked us up.
Holy cow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good deal. I'll try that now.
Yeah, right. You just punch in Short Rod Show, and we'll come up on our website, shortrodshow.com. It'll come up on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Awesome. So people can find us all over now.
Yeah, all over the internet.
That's great. We're also on Instagram, too. I've been trying to keep up with that. Posting some cool pictures. When we're out on the ice, you can check us out there, too.
Yeah, sweet updates.
Awesome. Check us out, guys. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us through the break. Today, we are talking about different types of fishing line.
Yep.
And it can be kind of intimidating, the amount of fishing line available. You got all your different brands, all your different pound tests.
Different types of line.
All kinds of everything. Yep. So we're laying it all out there, giving our opinion on how to pick different types of line, how to know when to use different types of line.
Yep.
Maybe Brett, start by going through what the different types of line we're familiar with.
So there's three main types of line, where you got your monofilament, your fluorocarbon, and braid. Now recently there's been some blurriness in those where they come out with this coated braid, or they come out with some sort of different polymer that makes it, off the top of my mind, there's like that nanofill that's like some sort of braided polymer or something like that's interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
It's supposed to be invisible, but then have less stretch, but also be super abrasion resistant. But so I'm not going to get into the gray areas. I'm just going to mostly stick with the mono.
We're going to keep it relatively simple.
Monofilament fluorocarbon braid.
Yep.
So monofilament gives you more stretch, and I believe is that the one that floats or fluoro float?
Mono floats.
Mono floats. Yep, that's what I was thinking.
Yes, it does.
Yep.
Somewhat.
Yep. So you end up, monofilament, the key features are it has some stretch.
Yep.
It'll float, kind of. It's a floating line anyways. But it also has a lot of memory where you'll end up with coils and problems and stuff like that.
Yep.
You guys with the spinning rods will know what that
I
means.
was going to say, you never run into that.
Nope.
It just pulls right off the schoolie.
Yep.
Smooth.
Yep. Well, you stretch it out a little bit, then you lose that coil, and then you're good to go.
Yep.
Fluorocarbon, the reason you'd go with that is less stretch, quite a bit less stretch.
Yep.
Nearly invisible in the water, and very abrasion resistant.
Mm-hmm.
And then braid.
And it sinks.
Yeah, it's a sinking line. And then braid is a completely different deal where it's a braided fiber.
Real tough.
Very tough, very durable, very strong, but is also visible in the water. Tendency to ice up to a point where, so the problem with the braid is that I see, and the reason I don't really use it, is that you'll get water within that braided fiber, and then like your whole line just becomes like an icicle where it doesn't even turn. Where, I mean, you'll get ice on the other lines, but you can just pull it right off, and it's not a big deal. Where braid, I mean, at some point it gets even difficult to reel. So,
yeah, and braid. What's good, braid in the summertime, fantastic. Use it all the time.
Yep.
It really helps with your bite detection, hookup.
Oh, and no stretch.
Yeah,
absolutely no stretch.
Yep. The only thing that I don't use it for would be on my light rod fishing crappies.
Yeah.
You want a little extra stretch to actually provide the hook set instead of just ripping it out of their mouth right away.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely agree. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, the braid that I tried was the coated Ice Tech from Power Pro.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it was maybe 20 degrees outside. So we're not talking super cold, but it has so much water beating off that line. As soon as you break past that coating on it, it was like a waxy kind of coating they put on the braid. As soon as you break off of that, as soon as you get some water in there, it just soaks in and it becomes stiff as a board.
Yep.
You're reeling in and busting ice chunks everywhere.
Yep.
Freezing on your eyelets like crazy. And it just carries all that water up your line all the way into your eyelets and all the way into your...
Yeah. I mean, maybe we're doing something wrong because, I mean, you do see, maybe it's a sponsorship thing for these other folks. I'm not for sure. But, I mean, you do see other people promoting, hey, we use braid on our ice rods, primarily inside the shack.
Yeah.
Helps with holes, around your hole so you don't get worn off while you're fishing when the fish are spinning in the hole and your line's just running along the bottom of that hole and wearing on it. That's really where people advertise it as. But frankly, I've never had that problem. I've never had an issue where mono or fluoro has been worn off at the hole and I lose a fish because of it.
Mm-hmm. Now, that there's something to be said, too, about changing your line out every so often. I'm not the kind of guy that changes it every season necessarily, but I never used to do that. And then you wonder why the last 30 feet of your ice,
line is shot,
or you break off at the hole, or you lose a fish that you think probably shouldn't have lost. So a lot of rods hold a lot of line that you don't really use.
Yep.
At the very least, just yank off 20, 30
strip
yards.
a little bit off, clip it off, and keep going.
Yep.
Yep.
Retie.
Yep.
That's something to be said about that, because I wasn't a believer of that right away.
Yeah.
And then you do actually start getting a few nicks into mono, or your fluoro gets worn through and gets thin, and get a nice bass or catfish bite, and she's gone.
Yeah.
Yep. But a lot of guys use the braid tied onto a fluoro leader.
Yeah.
To get that invisibility back.
Still doesn't solve the problem though of icing up.
Yep. But if you're inside a shack, and you're keeping it pretty warm, maybe it'll be all right. It's just we're back and forth so much.
Yeah, I don't have a specific shack rod. I mean, all my rods are coming in and out of the shack. They're all going with me. I don't keep them separate like that. So I run all monofilament on mine. I don't know exactly. Do you run all mono on yours, Ben? Or?
I have mostly mono, but then I do have that braided rod still.
Oh, you still have that braided?
I still have that set up somewhat for the iFish Pro, just because you're kind of tied to that. I mean, yeah, you have a bobber stop in there.
Yep.
That you're dealing with, but when you're fishing really light presentations, it's a pain in the butt having a bobber stop. Little knot tied in your line. So I usually just leave that spooled up and I'm good.
Yeah. And so what size are you using?
I think
Pound
that
test.
I think I went with 8 pound even.
No, I don't care about the braid, just in general.
Oh, that's usually, I'm usually between 2 to 3.
2 to 3 pound mono.
Maybe 4.
Mono, right?
Mono.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Usually Suffix ice.
Yeah, you got a hard on for
The
Suffix,
old
don't
ice
you?
magic.
Yeah.
And this year they have their Suffix ice.
Suffix Advanced Ice.
Advanced ice.
Yeah.
The copolymer you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
So I may try that. But
That
it's
stuff I'm just not as familiar with the science on. So I just don't wanna talk about
5,000% more expensive than mono.
it. Oh, yeah, they're way more expensive.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Braid is a lot more expensive than mono, but I think
Yep.
the Suffix Ice Advance is going to be
Well, it's been around forever.
pricey too. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's something where I don't really see a lot of benefit in spending a ton of extra money online.
No.
Versus just normal
Yep.
types of line, your Suffix regular. And I don't know how they distinguish ice line versus regular line. That'd be a good question.
I think they try to put something on there to help prevent ice up. I mean, obviously, eventually it wears off, but I think that's what they try to do.
You think it's like coated in something?
Yeah.
Like some Pam cooking spray?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Some grease.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not sure
It's just a
exactly,
little
but
bit
I think
different.
that's what they try. I think that's how they try to distinguish between the two, is that sort of stuff. But
no,
I
think it's a genius marketing if they're doing that, and they probably don't even change it very much. But just because you can sell a huge spool in the summertime, like 300 yards of Suffix, regular mono, like 3 pound, 4 pound mono, and it's like $6.
Yeah.
Then you cut that down and make a 50-yard spool.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say about the ice stuff. Is
and
it all
it's
comes
like
in 50-yard
$6.
spools. Yeah.
Yeah, just genius, So there's something to be said about that too. I don't know how much different it actually is. And actually, I still have one spooled up with 4 pound advance Suffix.
Ooh. Yeah.
I mean, I just run that as a control.
I mean, that's what I run as 3 pound pretty well for across the board. Yeah, I think I've got a couple spooled up with the Suffix Advance. I think that's what most of mine are spooled up now, but I did try some with the Clam Frost, I think is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do like about that is it's a metered out, so it's clear, and then it's got a little section of like orange, and then it'll be clear again for like a foot, and then it's got a foot of orange and a foot of clear.
Oh, okay. Help set your depths and find
Set your
where you're
depths,
at.
and then you can kind of see you can see the line a lot easier. And then what I do with that is I just make sure if I retie, I clip off the orange and I'm tying to a foot of clear line.
Yep.
And then if I have to retie, I'll just cut 2 foot
another
off or
foot.
cut off whatever, and then make sure that I'm always tied onto the clear portion rather than the orange portion. But I do like that. It is nice being able to see that in the hole, because some of that, when you get into some finer diameter lines, they're tough to see, man.
Absolutely. Yep. And then you look at the different colors that are out there too.
Mm-hmm.
What's your preference on color? Do you have one?
I mean, my preference on color is clear. But I mean, for a lot of years, like you got your schoolie sitting in front of you here that it comes on that neon green. Shit, that stuff's probably 6 or 8 pound line.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Rope.
I've used that for a lot of years without ever changing it out, and
Yep.
caught fish just fine. But yeah, I usually try to go clear, but it does make it a pain in the butt retying.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough.
Yep. And I like clear too, just because I can kind of see the quality of water too that we're fishing off it. If I'm pulling my last 10 feet up the hole and the line is just stained, brown.
Yep.
Like, oh, okay, all right, I can see what we're dealing with down there.
Yeah, and then another thing to consider. So I mean, I do like that Suffix Advance, but another thing to consider would be ice or line diameter.
Oh yeah.
So what you can run into is that specific pound test. So say we're talking 3 pound test. Some companies will have their diameter of that 3 pound will be different. And really what you want is the thinnest diameter that you can get in the pound test that you want. And just make sure, check that out. So if you're looking to zero in, or you're wondering, well, what should I look for? What should I get? Before I would even think about brands, I would decide what pound test I want, and then start comparing diameters.
Yeah. And that comes into play a lot, I think, in the summertime when you're trying to figure out how much you can fit on a spool, and you're undersizing your spool and getting some wider, heavier line. You want the smallest diameter. For me, I don't.
Oh, you're thinking braid. with the small
Well, and
diameter
braid,
braid.
or mono too, because there is a big difference on those.
Oh, yeah, how much you can put
companies
on?
Yeah, it'll be like, I don't know, 0.008 millimeters, and then
Yeah.
another 4-pound test is like 0.12.
Yeah. Well, I guess with the size diameter, I wasn't necessarily thinking about how much I could put on the spool, as what I was thinking of when I'm fishing. If I'm fishing heavily pressured
Just the
fish,
action. Yep.
that there's a less likely chance that they're going to detect that line.
Yep.
The thinner diameter it can get.
Yep. Yeah, and plus it gives you a little bit more of an advantage weight wise when you're it affects your presentation.
Yep. Oh, definitely.
If it's going to be a very light line versus a heavier.
Yep. And then, yeah, like I had mentioned earlier, that the mono, it'll coil up on you a little bit as you send it down. That's really where it comes into play of pulling the line out of your reel. Don't just flip so if you're running a spinning reel on your ice rod, don't just flip that bail and let it drop out, because then you end up with all that coiling. Where what I do, and I mean, I just have to with the schoolies, but any other open face reel I do, is I just set the drag down a little bit and I pull it out as I drop it, especially for that first drop.
Dang.
Because then otherwise you
First
got
drop
coil.
of the season or first drop of the
First
trip?
drop of the day.
Oh, okay.
Or whatever.
All right.
That way you make sure you always rip it out, and it's always straight. You don't have to worry about a bunch of coiling in the line as it's going down.
Wow.
Especially if you're running those light jigs.
That's true.
If you're running heavier jigs, that's the value of running the heavier jigs. That keeps your line straighter and tighter, so you detect your bite a little bit better. But if you're running real light jigs that don't weigh enough to really pull that coil out, yeah, you can really miss some strikes then.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
That'll get you in trouble.
Yep.
But then that's where the fluoro comes in handy,
Yeah, fluoro is good for that.
because it still has some memory, but not nearly as bad.
Yep.
But
A lot more expensive too.
oh yeah, it's a lot more expensive.
We're talking just straight cheap. Buy the schoolie line.
Well, it just comes with it. You don't buy it.
You can probably buy it somewhere too.
I've looked. I don't think you can. It's probably just
It's probably
6-pound trilene anyway.
Exactly. Trilene. Yeah, they just bought a 10,000 yard spool back in the day, and they still been
That's exactly.
spooling it up ever
That's
since.
exactly probably what it is.
Yeah, that schoolie line. I mean, we have some right here with us, and it's pretty stiff. It's pretty stiff.
I've never had a problem with it breaking before. I've had schoolies that I've
Takes a
ran
lot
for
of abuse.
3 or 4 or 5 years that never changed the line out and never had a problem with the line breaking.
How much do they spool a schoolie with?
I have no idea. Maybe probably 50 yards.
I'm gonna say it doesn't look like very much ever, but
No.
works good.
Takes a while to pull out 50 yards worth of line.
Did you, on a side note, did you watch the Fur Hat Ice Tour?
Which one?
The first one where they're out on the little ponds fishing
Yeah,
schoolies?
catch and perch. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I saw that.
The world's smallest fish.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. That was cool. Yeah, if you guys aren't Steven Ranella fans, go check out his stuff. It's
The
pretty
Fur
good.
Hat Ice Tour on YouTube is pretty
Yep.
entertaining.
Das Boat.
Not a lot to learn, but it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah. Just well produced.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Their production value's gone through the roof now since.
And they always
Recently
do
with
like
a little
a
bit
little
more
bit
money.
of cooking at the end. It's
Yep.
pretty cool.
Yeah. They like to tie that in.
Did you watch the one up where they're in the middle of nowhere in Montana? On
Yeah.
the lake?
Yeah, their fish finding skills are a little bit
That's
desired.
hilarious. I know that feeling. They get all the way out here, like 20 miles out, and drill a hole, and it's like 1.5 feet deep.
Yep.
Yep.
And they're just way out in the middle of nowhere,
Way
in
out,
the
yep.
middle of the lake.
Yep.
There's nothing out there. Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty cool. Well, moving on, let's talk a little bit about how to match up your line with your presentation, your reel, your rod and your reel.
Yep. So for me, there's a reason I put mono on my schoolies.
Okay.
Is because if you're familiar with a schoolie rod, they're about as stiff as a pool cue.
Yeah, and they get stiffer as you get shorter.
Yep.
We got a good 10-inch example here that
Yep.
is pretty
So,
stout.
I mean, your bite
There is not much
your bite
there.
detection comes off that little bite indicator.
Yep.
That's purely what it is. Everything else is there to set the hook. And if you're running fluoro or braid, it's just there's no stretch. And I mean, you'll rip out the hook out of their mouth a lot more often. Or if you have the mono, then that's where your stretch and your play comes from.
Yep.
Allows you to fight that fish a little
Plus
bit
your
better.
award-winning drag system on there. You can let
I mean,
that
it's all
backspool.
about. I mean, I do use it.
Oh yeah, you'd have to. That thing is stiff as a freaking board.
Yep. And that really requires some feel when
Yep.
you're using the drag on the schoolie, which is just a nut that you tighten down on a
So you, like,
spring.
holding your thumb against it, kind of feeling the spool. going in and out?
Yeah. I'll just kind of hold my thumb on the spool, and then if the fish is because I really play it a lot with the rod in my arm. You know, I'll pull it up and then start reeling. And if it starts fighting, I'll let it back down, and then if I get close to the hole, I'll let go of the reel or let go of the spool, let it rip a little bit with my thumb on it. But yeah, that's where all your play and all your fight comes from, is out of the stretch out of the mono on a schoolie. But where you can get into some other rods that you're running, like a bullwhip or something like that, you got more fight within the rod.
Oh yeah.
Then running mono is not quite as important. Then maybe you'd want to think about going to fluoro just for better bite detection, more abrasion resistant, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I think it gets more important to run braid or fluoro the deeper you fish too. I mean, we're not talking lake trout fishing where we're fishing at 60, 70, 100 feet. We're,
the buoyancy of your
deep for us
bait
would be like 30 feet.
Yep.
And with 30 feet of line out, you're not getting nearly the amount of stretch as you would if you're at 60 or 100 feet of mono.
Definitely.
That's when you're really...
There's still a lot of stretch coming out of 30 feet of mono.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Heck of a lot of stretch.
Yep.
I've got that tied up on one catfish rod, and you can't... I've backed up probably a good 20 feet trying to pull out a snag, and it's stretched that far.
It's stretched 20 feet.
Yeah.
It's not just lifting up to the top of your stretch. You're just backing up.
I just back up straight, trying to break it off of a
what
snag
pound
or
test
something.
were you using? Like 10?
It's probably 30 or 40 pound
mono.
mono. Yeah, it's probably 30 or 40 pound
on
mono.
one of these schoolies or what?
No, catfish rod.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking on the ice.
No. That stuff I can break with my hand.
All right. That makes more sense now.
Yeah.
All right. Back on track.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely, for me, I'm usually fishing mono, but I'm setting it up when we're fishing shallow panfish waters.
Yeah.
And I'm using either a noodle rod or I'm using a bullwhip tuned up custom rod that is kind of a hybrid of a noodle
Well,
rod.
what's the difference? So what do you consider a noodle rod?
To me, a noodle rod is straight fiberglass. That's what gives it its action, where it can bend. It can double over, basically.
It's right? Bending all the way back at the bend
you
point is all the way
handle,
back at the handle,
all the way forward. Yeah.
Where like a bullwhip, its bend point is like 3 eyelets back, 3.5 eyelets back from the tip. And where your noodle rod goes all the way back to the handle.
If I'm not mistaken, the bullwhip does have a fiberglass. That's a fiberglass type tip.
I have no idea.
I don't know. It's definitely different than the other part of it. But you have your carbon, graphite type material at the bottom to give you your power. And a noodle rod has very little power to it. If you're setting the hook on a big fish, it's going to double all the way back, and you're still going to be pulling on it.
Yep.
So, but when the bite gets really, really tough, that bullwhip is a little bit too heavy anyway for real tough fish.
You mean as far as like the tip?
Yes.
You're not getting the bite indication that you're looking for?
Yep.
Yeah.
Whereas the noodle rod, I think, here, hold up the other rod there. It's like a 22-inch fray bill.
She's short. 22-inch ultralight.
Yep. And that's a noodle rod.
Yeah, I mean, that thing's bending all the way back at the handle.
Yep.
When you bend it, you take the tip in your hand and you bend it back to the reel. You can see how far back where it starts to bend at.
So I normally run the 4-pound on the bullwhip, and then I'm running 1 pound on that fray bill. And that's where, when you were talking about pulling the line off.
Yep. That's where you don't do that there.
Well,
you'll break it.
I break it a lot. Because 1 pound is not very much.
No,
if your
that's
drag's
fair.
sticking a little bit, it doesn't take much. So.
Yep.
But that's with an inline reel too. So you want to talk a little bit about, we could touch on line twists a little bit and different types of reels.
So to me, the only reason I would ever even consider buying an inline reel is if I'm having line twist problems. Otherwise, I think they're junk.
Yeah. I mean, they can be gimmicky.
Yeah, well, the icing up problem is a huge problem, and also, at least the ones I've ran, they don't have a click on their drag.
Yes.
So how do you know how tight your drag should be when you can't hear the line going out?
Yeah, the drag is not great. But they're also usually cheaper built reels too, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, you got your Black Betty 6061, whatever.
Yeah.
The free fall, they're a little bit better, but still, you run into a lot of issues.
You got an icing up problem, major ice up problems with those. And if you change baits and you got a different weight, if you change baits that have very contrasting weights, like one's really light and then you go to a real heavy one, you'll have overspool problems, and then you'll start having some bird nest things and the ice up. And I mean, granted, the schoolie rod isn't technically an inline reel, or the schoolie reel is technically an inline reel.
Yeah. Yep.
But I've got mine honed for the drag system to have a little squeak to it.
I'm well aware.
So that when you let it go, you can hear how fast the squeak's going and you know how fast the drag's running.
So this rod here is my own rod that's, needs a little work too, but with the indicator, but that one doesn't squeak. You have to do that.
Well, that's why. That's probably why you haven't been able to use the drag. Have you ever used the drag on a schoolie?
I don't know if I've ever even really fished that one. I can't even tell you the last time I fished it. I probably
That's a
tied
shame.
that jig on there, and here she sits as a desk ornament.
That's a terrible shame.
But you have to be pulling that all apart, Brett, putting some sand in there or something, and just getting it to squeal. Because they don't come like that from the factory. They have just the smallest touch of oil on there from the factory. Just putting miles and miles.
I put miles
on that
them.
baby.
Yeah, there's a lot. They've been in some harsh conditions, but
Brett's just reeling in.
To me, that's what I just don't like the inline reels. I don't.
Yeah, the free fall is nice with the drop lever.
Yeah,
but like you said, you have to have it tuned right. Where I don't use that with extremely small jigs because it's impossible.
It's not gonna feed out like it should.
Yep, and it works better with your spoons and jigging wraps and things like that, but it's still not.
Yeah,
not all that. Not for I think they're like $70.
Nah, yeah, I'd rather go with the open face reel than at that point.
Yep. But I'm a big Okuma fan
reel.
with that same R10.
Dude, I like Okuma has taken over all my reeling.
Yeah.
My fishing reel.
Yeah,
needs.
we're fanboys now.
Yeah.
But it's got the extra long handle on it. You can use it with gloves.
What are you
no
talking
problem.
about here?
The Okuma.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on my other whip down there. And they just work really well. I mean, they're smooth and they're relatively cheap.
Yeah.
They're $35.
So at least the folks that Ben and I run with are real fanboys of Fluger initially. And I've always ran Fluger.
Yeah, well, Shimano.
Also.
And
I've never run. I have a Shimano reel, but I know the Fluger brand a lot better. Mm-hmm. And like you got the Triton and the President reels.
Mm-hmm.
And what's nice is those Okuma, those Samars, they have the bell bearings and they have all the features of the President at the the Triton price tag.
Oh yeah.
So that's what really sold me on. And they look cool being all black.
Yeah, black and red is kind of slick. Yep.
That's what sold me on the reels.
Yep.
Is there anything else? You're the one who fishes more with reels than I do.
Well, if you are having line twist problems, it's like you said, you can stretch your line out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The first drop of the day, you're probably going to have some memory to it. But maybe, you need to downsize your fishing line. Because I see a lot of guys still that are, I might catch a 8-pound walleye, so I'm going to put 8-pound.
That's all the drag. You just need to adjust your drag at that point.
If you're doing that, you're going to have freaking rope on your reel that's going to just coil up in a huge rat's nest.
Yeah, because the heavier line you get, the more it coils.
Plus, when it's cold out, I mean, your line's going from being in your truck warm, getting super cold, and then
that temperature change.
It's plastic, so it's going to have some memory to it. But that's why I'm curious on this Suffolk Ice Advance, Steve. What kind of memory it's got?
Yeah,
still probably just do with either a 3 or 4 pound size. But
so do you have a lot of problem with line twist? You're talking about memory versus line twist are two different things.
Well, not since I switched to the Suffolk Ice. That's been
no
good.
line twist problems.
No,
nice.
I mean a little bit, but like I said, when the bite's really tough and I'm worried about line twist, I'm fishing the inline reel.
Well, what's the problem with line twist? Why don't you want line twist in the first place?
Fish do not process something spinning around. They don't have it in their little brain to figure out a jig.
I'm trying to get you down to the basics of what line twist is here, Ben. I'm trying to just feed you into it.
Well,
you don't want that jig spinning. You don't want that jig spinning in the water.
Exactly. Well, I was getting there. The fish can't figure out what this thing is spinning around because that's not natural at all. There's nothing in nature that's sitting there just spinning around one way and then spinning around the other way.
Yeah.
And it gets worse as you get deeper.
Yep.
Now,
if you jig it, it'll stop spinning. Your jig will.
Usually, yeah.
But if you just leave it sitting there kind of like a dead stick or something like that, your jig down there, you don't know it, but it's just spinning.
Yeah, and that's where having a camera comes in handy because you'll see the fish behavior on the camera versus you may see it on the flasher, but you might interpret it different.
Well, you might be able to see the jig spinning down there.
Oh, you can, yeah. Yep. But if you see your jig spinning and you see a fish come up on the camera and it looks at it, and while your jig's sitting there spinning, it'll dart off and okay, well, hey, that's why.
Yep.
Otherwise, you might say, "Oh, that was probably just that was a catfish, or that was a
it was something else.
That was a bass. He didn't care." Yeah. Yep. So, I've been guilty of that before. That's where having actual eyes on it, that
knowing what's going on.
Yep. That makes you a lot better fisherman.
Yep.
So that, or like you said, using a fish tank and testing the action of your lures.
Oh yeah, we'll have to do some work on that with the column.
We could fit a nice aquarium right in here.
Well, about that water column, we don't need that.
Water column? What?
Yeah, I told you about that vase. It's like 12 inches tall.
It's got
like 5 inches, and you can just jig your jigs in it.
You weren't using its technical name, the water column.
Yeah.
We got to name it
cylinder, I
something for the
guess
show.
is what I could call it. The water cylinder.
Yep.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting watching some of the baits. You
Oh,
don't
yeah.
get as much side to side action as some of those baits are capable of, but
Yep.
you definitely get the up and down.
You can tell if they're
Profile.
wanting to go off the side.
Yeah, you
or-
can tell a lot of times
Yeah,
they'll start hitting the
that's
side of the glass, seeing
Yep.
what's going on. But
Yeah, that's good. That's important. But yeah, definitely. There's a lot to line, and that's where, like, I feel like when I first started ice fishing, I just ran whatever
And you
the
caught
combo
fish.
came with.
Yep.
You know, it was
You just didn't know any better
the
whether it
cheapest
worked
stuff
out great
ever.
or not.
I broke a lot of stuff,
Yep.
and drilling around your hole, like I was constantly trying to keep fish from going down off to the side, and afraid of breaking off because the line was so terrible.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. I'm not afraid to spend a little money on line,
Yeah.
like name brand line,
Yeah.
versus the Fleet Farm brand or the whatever came on your combo. Like I'm okay spending some money online.
Yep.
And
It can add up fast.
Oh, yeah.
Crap.
Yeah.
Especially when you're buying floor or braid.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And I mean, there's guys that are changing their line twice a year, once a season.
They're fishing a little harder than we do.
Oh my gosh. Well, we might be out there fishing here sometime.
I don't think we're ever going to fish this
We
year.
do have to predict when we're going to get ice here.
Never.
We're supposed to do that last season.
I'm going to say January 2nd.
Oh my gosh. Seriously? I can't wait that long. There's no way. We're going to go crazy
The
here.
10-day doesn't look good for us, bud.
I'm going to stick with December 18th.
I'm also starting to think we're going to have to expand our radius for our fishing trip.
Yeah, we probably will have to.
I don't even think those guys, 6 hours north of us aren't going to have ice.
I know on Facebook I saw today, I think, northern Minnesota, they're up. And of
Baudette
course,
area.
yeah, of course, like Lake of the Woods and up around there, they're out.
Red Lake
Fishing and
I've
breaking
seen
through,
has-
but-
I've seen Red Lake has ice. But I think, and they'll have people out walking out by Thanksgiving,
Yep.
which is normal.
Yep. Yeah.
But that's a hell of a long ways
That's
up there.
that's a good trip up there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, are we talking on our dates? Are we talking fishable ice or just ice? You're talking January. what was
Ice
it?
here in Iowa, where ponds
in
are capped
Ankeny.
over. Yep, ponds are capped over in Ankeny.
Like we can fish it?
No.
You're saying January 3rd for just iced over ponds?
Oh, okay, yeah, maybe fishable, I guess, now that I think about it, yeah.
Okay.
Fishable ice.
Makes me feel better. Oh my gosh.
I think it'll be after the new year now.
December 18th. That's what I'm shooting for.
December 18th.
We're just going to have a dive in the weather. Just global warming's going to kick us in the shorts and take
Maybe.
us cold.
That's what I was hoping for, but I don't think it's going to happen now. I think we got to figure out a way to keep talking on here without fishing. We'll just be wannabes. It really makes us feel like we're just a bunch of wannabes.
Everyone
and we
else is
can't
out there
fish.
fishing, and we're
Yeah.
just sitting here in the studio talking about it,
Yeah, just
scratching
thinking
the
about
itch.
it. Yeah, holding our rods in the office here, just practicing our jig.
Yep, just playing with them. Oh yeah, the old schoolie rod and the bullwhip, and we got the noodle rod.
Yeah, the fray bow.
It's good demonstrator rods.
Trying to think of what else. Nothing else really comes to mind online, anyways.
Yeah, the main thing that was surprising to me was I was super pumped about using braid on the ice, and it was total letdown. Like the biggest
Total
letdown
letdown.
I've ever had
Yeah.
with equipment. Something I was really pumped about that I know works well in the summer. It's like,
Yep.
man, braid is awesome, and I'm ready to spool a whole reel up with it, toss it down, and it's
Yep.
20 degrees and just stiff as a
Could
board.
you imagine the complete disaster it would be putting braid on your inline
Oh man,
inline
Like a free
black
fall?
bed free fall?
I don't know. Maybe people do it. I don't know. I don't know how you would.
That would be
Unless you're in a hard side shack, maybe.
yeah. If you're in a shack, yeah, that'd be the only way. If you were out in the cold trying to fish braid on your inline
Yep.
free fall reel, that would be just a 100% disaster.
I mean, that gets any little bit of water up in the mechanism.
Oh, it's gonna get all the water up
just
in the mechanism.
seized up.
That whole thing's gonna freeze
Yep.
up
Yep.
because that water wicks back up with the braid as it comes in, where
Yep.
it wicks off with the other two types of line as
No,
they
just
as they're
horrible.
reeled in.
I don't know. I don't know how you do it.
Oh gosh, no, you don't. It's not. I don't know how. It's just you don't do it.
I don't know. Maybe we'll run a test this year. I still got some of that ice tech.
I mean, the second I say this, we're gonna get 10 comments.
Yeah.
This week, but
How
next
awesome
week
braid
being
is.
like, yeah, I use braid for everything. It's great, catches everything.
Man, I don't see how you can do it unless it's consistently above freezing when you're just a total fair weather fisherman.
Yeah.
And we are definitely not. We'll be out there and
Well, you just got
Negatives.
We just go when we can.
yep,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Yeah, and we just need line that's not going to freeze up on
Yep.
us.
Exactly.
And the crazy part about braid too, it'll like make droplets that'll run down and just like icicles, like you said, just the craziest stuff.
Yeah.
And you're busting apart, cranking it up, and
with the other types of line, it's just it'll freeze right at the hole where it's constantly wet right there.
Yep.
But nothing else will freeze up.
Yeah, and you bust that off on your first eyelet, reeling it up, no problem.
Yep. Well, usually, or it plugs up into the eyelet, one or the other.
Yep.
But
yeah, interesting.
Yeah. But your ice defense deal really helps keep that thought
Maybe
off.
those are the ice defense guys that are just all about the braid.
No, because it's still freezing as it's up out of the water.
Keeping that warm water rolling across it.
Yeah.
Who knows? I made some modifications to that the other day. I did find a little T fitting that'll come up off that. I run some fuel line off it.
I'm surprised you just haven't gone just bought one.
I'm in it now.
You're into your
a $6
DIY.
Aquarium pump and $5 in PVC parts. So
dude, that is a pretty sweet little deal you put together.
Try it out. I want to determine the buoyancy of it. If I need to put some foam in it to kind of keep it floating,
make
down
it
in
neutral.
the hole. Yeah. Or if I just sink it down a little bit. I know it needs a little flotation though. Yeah. But maybe do a little spray foam or something.
Interesting.
Yep. Yeah, we'll try it out this year because, man, I know it worked.
Oh, yeah.
It was a makeshift kind of deal last year, but it definitely kept the water moving, rolling through your hole.
Nice.
I don't think it's going to, like, melt your hole out or anything. But who knows? Yep. Maybe someday we'll get on the ice.
Yeah, I'm just depressed about it.
Usually we're sitting in the shelter just recording, having a good time, actually catching fish.
Not usually this early anyways, but it's at least usually start getting some real cold temperatures. Shoot, it didn't even frost last night.
No,
There wasn't even any frost
it was like
on
a
the
little
ground.
rain that didn't even freeze.
Yeah.
So that sucks. Yep. Well, we'll get there.
Yep. Eventually.
Cool. Well, guys, keep listening in with us every week. We appreciate all the downloads and views on YouTube.
Yep.
On all your favorite podcast platforms. I checked the other day. We're now on Pandora.
Oh, sweet.
Which they were supposed to email me and let me know we were going to be on there, but
probably went to your spam.
Yeah, I just checked and there we were. So Pandora, we had to prove that we're legit
That we're real.
in order to get on. So
that we're not robots.
We're not robots. We're on Amazon Music. That was the other one that was a little different. Yeah, we're getting around.
Sweet.
So it's good. But yeah, still everybody listens on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
like over 50%.
Yeah.
All of our listeners. So
almost all our YouTube videos all our YouTube views come from Facebook. Mostly is where they're coming from.
Yep.
But
Yep, that's cool. People are out there listening and watching, and we appreciate it.
Oh yeah. It's
Cool.
awesome.
We'll catch you next time on
The Short Rod Show.